Good morning everyone, welcome to another video from Stay Safe with Will and Jav. Today I'm going to talk about documents, and specifically documents when moving around and travelling. Now of course if you travel internationally then you'll know that there's a whole bunch of documents that you need to take with you, starting with your personal ID through to itineraries and other documents. But that still stays the same for if you're moving around locally, and many of us ask our staff to move around, to travel to one part of the city or country than another, and in most contexts now you'll certainly need some things with you. So what I'm going to go through in this video is many of the document types and some things to keep in mind. So I've got this folder here, and in this folder it's got many of the typical documents that I would take with me when I'm travelling around. I suppose I travel internationally quite a lot, but I'd still take many of these with me. So first of all, you've got ID, and obviously a passport or a driving license, or you may be required in your country to carry an ID card as well. So when you're thinking about that, obviously safe storage of that in a wallet or keeping it on you is really important. You may also have some other documents that go with that, such as visas, permits to travel, or even vaccination certificates if you're travelling abroad. Secondly, after that, you also have itineraries. You may have welcome packs or something like that from the area that you're visiting or from the company that you're visiting, just to give you some information on what's happening. If you're travelling by car, you will probably be required to have your insurance with you and proof of ownership of the vehicle. These are just a few examples of some of the documents that you can have to travel with or have to bear in mind. And it's really easy to become disorganised, but it's so important to have a structure and a way that you can have access to these documents very quickly, without fuss, not carry them around without gaining attention, and if you're asked, you can produce them really quickly. So a few tips is really on the security of documents first. It's very easy to just put them into a bag or put them into your pocket or something like that, or fold them up and put them away. But do think about duplicates. If you lost these, then that could be very troublesome. For example, a passport, you may need to go to an embassy or an office or wait several days for that. So I always keep a copy of my passport or ID separately to my passport in my bag, so that I can access it. And I also have a soft copy stored with somebody that I trust back at home, just in case I need it to get it sent to me for any proof. The same goes with all documents really. Great to have duplicates. Secondly is keeping them safe and actually dry. So you can get all sorts of document holders, cheap and expensive, that'll keep them in good order and looking good. I'd advise avoiding expensive looking document holders. They draw attention to you, and if you're traveling in a place where you aren't familiar with, it will certainly bring attention to you. So do think about something that's simple, easy to access, but that's going to keep them safe and dry and intact. I think you also need to bear in mind how quickly that they can be got at. So you can get passport holders or things with buckles or zips that will keep them safe so that they can't be accessed quickly. So really do bear that in mind. I think also just think about their placement in luggage. If you're going to put any documents in your luggage, you don't want to put it all in one place. I know of one person who arrived in Freetown and was very fastidious. He put all of his documents, including his passport, into his bag, put that in the back of a pickup truck where he was being taken to the hostel where he was staying, and then they stopped at lights, somebody took the bag out and he lost everything. So he didn't keep some vital documents on him, and it's really important to keep that in mind and have access to them and know that they're there. I'm always touching my pockets to make sure I've not lost it and things like that. I think the other point that I want to talk about is personal items that you may want to take with you. So when I travel, I take certain things. I might take a book, I might take pictures of my family just to remind me of them, and that's a nice thing to do. And other people will take journals or diaries or documents or reports, and really do be careful. If you're traveling in areas where there may be some sensitivity or some restrictions around certain documents, do research that before you go. If you have those taken off you, or they're found and they're deemed as sensitive, it could get you into a lot of trouble. It also contains a huge amount of personal information as well, so do be wary of that when you travel around. I think that there are some examples of literature and books that can be sensitive in some cultures. If you take, for example, the Satanic Verses, that was a book that was written in the 1990s, I believe. So Satanic Verses was deemed as very sensitive and offensive in many Muslim countries, and was actually banned. And if you were found with that book, you would certainly find yourself in a degree of trouble. So, that's just an example. There are many other documents that you could carry around that would cause that could cause offence. Finally, I would just say about your types of ID, it might be that you've come from a military background and you have military cards, or you have membership cards of different organisations that you're part of. And do bear in mind, if you're stopped and somebody has a look through your wallet and sees obviously the bank cards and driving licence and other things, but if you do have memberships for something that's of an interest, think about how that could cause questions, or where that conversation might go in the context where you're working.